They promise freedom, thrill, and reliability, but some motorcycles break your heart before they even hit 10,000 miles. From blown engines to crippling repairs, these bikes leave riders stranded and wallets empty. In this countdown, we're exposing the worst offenders. If you ride, you need to see this first. Number 7. Suzuki SV650. For years, the SV650 earned a reputation as one of the best budget-friendly bikes on the market. It had charm, versatility, and a friendly price tag that made it a favorite among beginners and seasoned riders alike. Lightweight, nimble, and with a playful engine, it quickly became a cult classic. But that reputation has started to crack. Owners who once praised its bang-for-the-buck performance are now trading in those compliments for regret and, in many cases, expensive repair bills. Beneath the nostalgic appeal lies a host of issues that surface shockingly early, often before the odometer even hits 5,000 miles. Powering the SV is a 645 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin engine, producing 75 horsepower and 47 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 434 pounds, fully fueled. Suspension consists of a conventional telescopic front fork and a link-type rear monoshock with adjustable preload, adequate for commuting, but easily overwhelmed during aggressive riding or on rough pavement. Braking is handled by dual 290mm discs up front with two piston calipers and a single 240mm disc in the rear with a single piston caliper. Anti-lock braking system comes standard. The SV starts at $7,199, but these entry-level specs come with compromises that reveal themselves far sooner than most riders expect. The most troubling and expensive failure is the stator. As the heart of the charging system, the stator is supposed to keep the battery powered, but on the SV, it's infamous for burning out well before the 10,000-mile mark. When it fails, the battery dies without warning, often leaving riders stranded in parking lots or on the side of the road. Repairs aren't cheap, and installing poor-quality aftermarket parts only invites the problem back. For a bike this common, it's shocking how many owners report being blindsided by this issue within the first year of ownership. Throttle response also proves problematic. Many riders complain of engine stuttering or surging at steady speeds, especially between 3,000 and 5,000 revolutions per minute. These symptoms are often traced back to faulty throttle bodies or sensor issues, which can be tricky to diagnose and expensive to replace. What was once known as a smooth and easygoing commuter now feels unpredictable in the very situations where stability matters most. Routine maintenance can quietly drain the budget too. Valve clearance checks are required more frequently than expected, and the process to reach the engine involves removing a surprising amount of bodywork. Many riders are caught off guard by high labor quotes that rival those of more expensive machines. For a bike that earned its following on low running costs, these surprises feel like betrayal. Cosmetic quality has also taken a step back. Owners report that plastics fade rapidly under sun exposure, fuel tanks dent from light contact, and chips in the paint are common after just one riding season. Some riders even report corrosion around engine covers and exhaust headers. Despite regular washing and garage storage, it's not just about looks. These signs of wear tank resale confidence and leave owners with a bike that seems older than it is. If you thought budget compromises were bad here, the next entry takes things even lower, and it's from a brand that should know better. Don't get caught unprepared. Find everything you need in the description. Number 6. Honda CBR 500R. This is often introduced as the perfect beginner-friendly sport touring bike. It looks sharp, sits comfortably in the middleweight category, and carries the Honda badge, a name synonymous with reliability. For new riders looking to dip their toes into sport bike territory, it seems like a sure bet. But once the honeymoon phase ends, a different picture begins to emerge. Owners who expected an easy, drama-free ride have found themselves dealing with mechanical problems far too early, some before even hitting the 10,000-mile mark. Powering the CBR 500RR is a 471 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine producing 47 horsepower and 32 pound-feet of torque. The bike weighs 428 pounds fully fueled. Suspension comes in the form of a non-adjustable telescopic front fork and a preload adjustable ProLink rear monoshock, both tuned for comfort rather than control. Braking is handled by a single 320mm front disc with a twin-piston caliper and a 240mm rear disc with a single-piston caliper. Anti-lock braking system is standard. Priced at $7,399, the specs may sound adequate, but real-world use exposes glaring weaknesses that cast doubt on the bike's long-term value. One of the most frequently reported issues is cam chain tension or failure. This part is critical to regulating valve timing and engine performance, yet many owners report symptoms like engine ticky, poor throttle response, and erratic idling before the bike reaches 10,000 miles. If left unaddressed, this seemingly minor flaw can cause major engine damage and turn a beginner-friendly ride into a repair shop regular. For a bike marketed as low maintenance, this single fault is enough to sour the entire ownership experience. Beyond the engine, the ride quality itself begins to frustrate. Riders often complain about excessive vibration through the handlebars and foot pegs, especially above 65 miles per hour. These buzzing sensations are more than just annoying. They make long rides physically tiring and mentally draining. Throttle response, particularly in the low to mid-range, also lacks refinement. The bike can feel jerky and hesitant when rolling on the gas in slow or variable speed conditions, making it harder to maintain smooth control. Build quality has taken a hit in recent model years. Owners have reported warped front brake rotors, sometimes within the first year of ownership, leading to pulsing during stops and diminished confidence under braking. Paint and plastic finishes have also declined, with reports of fading, cracking, and brittle components showing up far sooner than expected. These aren't just cosmetic annoyances, they signal cost-cutting in materials that compromise long-term durability. For a brand that built its legacy on lasting quality, these issues feel like a betrayal. Maintenance adds another layer of regret. Valve clearance inspections are time-consuming and expensive, requiring a significant teardown to reach the top of the engine. With rising labor costs at dealerships, what was once seen as a budget-friendly machine becomes a surprise financial drain when it's time for scheduled service. Riders looking for an easy-to-own experience end up paying premium prices to keep the bike running as intended. We dig through the recalls, the forums, and the fine print so you don't end up stranded. Subscribe for more no BS motorcycle breakdowns and let us know in the comments if you've ever owned one of these lemons. The next motorcycle comes with bold styling, but what's hiding underneath will shake your confidence and possibly your feelings. Number 5. Kawasaki Z1000. At first glance, the Z1000 looks like everything a street fighter should be. Aggressive styling, muscular stance, and a reputation built on Kawasaki's performance heritage. It's meant to deliver raw, naked bike thrills with the comfort of upright ergonomics. But many riders who were lured in by the promise of adrenaline quickly found themselves stuck with a machine riddled with expensive problems, unpredictable performance, and maintenance bills that belong on a superbike, not a daily rider. At the core of the Z1000 is a 1,048 cubic centimeter inline four-cylinder engine that produces 1,043 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque. On paper, that's a powerhouse in the naked bike category. The torque kicks in early and there's plenty of top-end power for aggressive riders. But even with all that output, owners have reported a troubling trend. The engine runs hot. Very hot. In city traffic or slow-speed conditions, it frequently overheats, even when the cooling system is working properly. And once it crosses a few thousand miles, many riders notice it starts to burn oil faster than expected, sometimes requiring top-offs every 500 miles. Compounding the issue are the cooling system failures that emerge under 10,000 miles. Reports of coolant leaks, warped thermostats, and clogged radiators have flooded online forums. The radiator's exposed placement makes it especially vulnerable to road debris, and any impact can result in costly damage. Some riders even report the bike cutting power mid-ride due to thermal sensors going haywire. The risk of long-term engine damage becomes a constant concern, hardly the kind of peace of mind anyone expects after spending over $11,499. Adding to the pain are the brake and suspension issues that show up earlier than expected. The Z1000 comes equipped with dual 310mm front discs and radial radial mount monoblock calipers paired with a single rear disc. While braking performance is decent when new, multiple owners have reported premature rotor warping, leading to pulsating levers and reduced confidence under hard braking. Suspension-wise, the bike features a fully adjustable inverted front fork and a horizontal backlink rear shock, which should offer track-worthy damping, but reality falls short. Many describe the ride as overly stiff with poor small bump compliance, especially for everyday road conditions. Combined with the bike's wet weight of 471 pounds, the suspension struggles to manage both agility and comfort. Electronics haven't fared much better. Riders commonly experience quick shifter glitches, battery drain problems, and phantom error codes on the instrument cluster. The quick shifter, which is a highlight feature on this model, frequently fails under aggressive use, sometimes forcing riders to revert to manual shifting mid-ride. Battery failures and unexplained power loss have left some riders stranded. Even after routine maintenance, it's not just annoying, it's dangerous, especially for those using the Z1000 as their primary ride. Despite its aggressive design and headline specs, the Z1000 has gained a reputation for poor long-term reliability. Buyers on the used market are increasingly wary, and trade-in values are unimpressive, with dealers reluctant to take in models with high mileage due to the known service issues. Owners looking to upgrade or switch brands often find themselves thousands of dollars in the hole, wondering why a premium performance bike turned into such a financial burden. Think a cruiser should be bulletproof, not this next one. It's been leaving riders stranded before their first oil change. Number 4. Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. At first glance, the Bolt R-Spec checks all the right boxes. Muscular styling, low-slung frame, and just enough attitude to make it feel like a stripped-down cruiser for the modern rider. It carries that no-nonsense look that promises simplicity and reliability in one clean package. For many riders, especially those looking for a more affordable cruiser with Japanese dependability, it seems like the perfect alternative to bigger American iron. But fast forward 10,000 miles and the honeymoon is over. Owners are discovering that what looked like a durable cruiser is actually loaded with problems that show up early, hit hard, and leave a lasting mark on both performance and ownership costs. At the core of the Bolt R-Spec is a 942 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twin engine producing 65 horsepower and 52 pound-feet of torque. That setup sounds ideal for around-town cruising and weekend rides. On paper, the torque arrives early and gives a strong low-end pull, which makes for enjoyable stoplight sprints and relaxed throttle control. But once the mileage climbs past 5,000, the problems begin to surface. One of the most common complaints is fuel pump failure, often leading to unexpected stalls while riding. Multiple owners report their bikes cutting out mid-cruise, forcing emergency stops and expensive tows. Electrical issues are another pain point. The Bolt's charging system has a reputation for being weak, with riders frequently dealing with dead batteries or inconsistent voltage output. This leads to hard starts, dim lights, and in some cases, a completely bricked bike in the middle of nowhere. Misfires and fouled spark plugs often accompany these electrical gremlins, making the ride jittery and unpredictable. For a bike marketed on its ease of use and dependability, the Bolt R-Spec has a frustrating habit of leaving its riders stranded without warning. Another major concern lies in the rear suspension. The Bolt uses twin shocks on the rear that are notoriously undersprung and poorly damped. Riders of average or above average weight often find the suspension bottoming out on even moderate bumps. This not only kills comfort but can damage components over time. The front forks, which are non-adjustable, don't fare much better, transmitting harsh impacts through the bars on rough pavement. Together, the suspension setup fails to deliver the plush, cruiser-like ride the bike's appearance suggests. The belt drive is another weak point. While belt drives are often praised for being cleaner and quieter than chains, the Bolt's drive system has been known to develop alignment issues. In more severe cases, full teardown and retensioning are required, which comes with a labor cost riders didn't expect when buying a low-maintenance motorcycle. With a starting price of $8,899, the Bolt R-Spec aims to be a stylish and accessible cruiser. However, what you save up front can quickly disappear in repairs, service visits, and lost time. For a cruiser meant to be simple, raw, and dependable, the Bolt R-Spec ends up being far more demanding than it should be. Once the early reliability issues start piling up, many owners find themselves regretting the purchase and moving on to more durable options. The ride might feel cool, the engine might sound great, but none of that matters when you're stuck replacing fuel pumps and chasing down electrical faults before even hitting 10,000 miles. Now let's move into territory where the name alone should promise dependability. Except this next one missed that memo entirely. Number 3. Honda NC750X. On the surface, the NC750X promises a near-perfect solution for daily commuters and weekend explorers. Honda billed it as the no-fuss motorcycle for riders who wanted reliability, convenience, and just enough excitement to keep things interesting. With its upright stance, integrated storage, and reputation for frugality, it seemed like the kind of machine you could ride for years without worry. But many owners are learning a harsh truth. This bike might get you to work, but it could also leave you stranded on the way there. At the heart of the NC750X is the 745 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, delivering 54 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque. The power is modest but smooth, designed for everyday efficiency rather than aggressive speed. However, that smoothness often disappears due to one of the bike's most infamous flaws: its transmission. The dual-clutch automatic gearbox, a rare feature in motorcycles, has become the single biggest source of regret among owners. Transmission sensor errors begin to crop up early, often before the bike hits 10,000 miles. When those sensors go bad, gear shifts become jerky or simply fail altogether, turning a commute into a frustrating stop-and-reboot process. In more serious cases, the transmission locks into neutral or fails to engage altogether, leading to expensive repairs that many dealers struggle to diagnose properly. Another serious concern is the radiator design. Positioned low and exposed, the radiator is prone to taking damage from rocks, road debris, or even aggressive parking stops. Several riders have reported leaking coolant from minor impacts, problems that most other bikes would shrug off. And once the coolant starts leaking, engine overheating follows shortly after, further damaging internal components and often leading to full system failure if not caught in time. In terms of hardware, the NC750X weighs 475 pounds wet, giving it a fairly light feel for a mid-size adventure-styled commuter. Suspension duties are handled by a non-adjustable 41mm telescopic front fork and a rear monoshock with adjustable preload. The ride is soft and forgiving on smooth roads, but lacks control on bumpy or winding surfaces. Braking is managed by a single 320mm front disc with a 2-piston caliper and a rear 240mm disc with a single piston caliper. The braking feel is average, not confidence-inspiring, and can become unpredictable when paired with the jerky transmission behavior. Overall, the ride quality feels unrefined compared to similarly priced options. Fueling and throttle response are also a disappointment. Riders consistently report a delay between wrist movement and engine reaction, making the bike feel sluggish at low speeds and twitchy during transitions. The throttle-by-wire system lacks the feedback needed for smooth input, and combined with a poor fueling map, the result is an inconsistent power band that makes the bike feel unpredictable. It's not fun, it's awkward. The bike's brittle plastics are another issue. From fairings to side panels, many parts feel cheap and have a tendency to crack or rattle loose, especially if the bike is ridden regularly on less than perfect roads. With a starting price of $8,999, the NC750X isn't trying to be a budget bike, but it ends up feeling like one when problems emerge early. But promise of a low-maintenance commuter dissolves quickly under the weight of faulty electronics, overheating issues, and transmission drama. If your idea of a nightmare is paying for a premium badge and getting dollar store reliability, wait until you hear about this next one. Number 2. Suzuki GSXS 750. When Suzuki launched the GSXS 750, it looked like the perfect blend of practicality and sport-inspired performance. With bold angular styling and a torquey mid-range engine, it positioned itself as an affordable do-it-all naked bike that could handle commuting, canyon carving, and weekend rides. But behind that aggressive appearance lies a host of issues that quickly ruin the ownership experience. Issues that don't just show up over time, but often begin straight out of the crate. While other bikes on this list fail after some mileage, the GSXS 750 barely makes it past its break-in period without throwing a wrench in the ride. The bike is powered by a 749 cubic centimeter inline four-cylinder engine that produces 114 horsepower and 63 pound-feet of torque. That should be more than enough power for most riders, offering plenty of acceleration across the mid-range and top end. However, one of the most immediate complaints owners report is poor fueling. From the first few hundred miles, the GSXS stumbles with throttle surging, inconsistent idle, and hesitation during roll-ons. These issues are persistent and widely documented, often requiring third-party fuel mapping solutions or extensive shop time to resolve. Something no one expects on a new motorcycle, but it gets worse. Early models are notorious for failures in both the regulator rectifier and the main wiring harness, critical electrical components that should never go bad before 10,000 miles. Yet countless owners have reported sudden voltage drops, dash malfunctions, and total electrical failure while riding. These aren't just annoying, they're dangerous, and they cost hundreds to fix. Suzuki has yet to offer a consistent solution, and many owners are left footing the bill for replacement parts and labor that shouldn't be necessary on a bike marketed as daily rider reliable. Another weak link is the throttle body system. Many units lose synchronization far earlier than expected, which contributes to rough running and surging. Adjusting or replacing these components is labor-intensive, and most dealerships charge premium rates for the service. Combine that with the fact that the gearbox begins to show wear before the 5,000-mile mark, especially in second and third gears, and the GSXS starts to feel less like a practical tool and more like a maintenance project. Gear changes become clunky, false neutrals become common, and over time the ride gets more unpredictable and frustrating. When it comes to hardware, the GSXS 750 weighs 462 pounds fully fueled. Suspension is handled by conventional front forks and a rear monoshock with preload adjustment, but the system is known to be underdamped, especially on poor pavement. Riders frequently report wallowing in excessive dive under braking. Brakes are managed by dual front 210mm discs with 2 piston calipers and a single rear disc with a 1-piston setup. The brakes do the job, but lack initial bite and fade under aggressive use. Another sign that this bike cuts corners where it shouldn't. The starting price is $8,499, putting it in the same price bracket as far more polished competitors. Unfortunately, once the hidden costs of unreliable components, early wear, and dealer visits start adding up, that upfront savings evaporates quickly. The bike's reputation in the used market has taken a nosedive as a result. Now for the final blow, our number one motorcycle has left more riders betrayed, broke, and broken down before 10,000 miles than any other on this list. Number 1. Kawasaki Ninja 400. For years, it was praised as the go-to machine for new riders looking to get their first taste of the sport bike lifestyle. From twisty canyon runs to commuter routes, it promised to be the perfect blend of fun and practicality. But today, many riders are finding out the hard way that this so-called starter bike king is hiding a serious reliability nightmare. What was once a bestseller is now becoming one of the most regretted purchases for thousands of owners who never made it past 10,000 miles. The Ninja 400 is powered by a 399 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine, producing 49 horsepower and 28 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers look impressive on a spec sheet for a sub-400 class motorcycle, and when it runs properly, it offers smooth acceleration and an exciting top-end rush. But far too many riders never get to enjoy the bike long enough for it to fulfill that promise. Premature head gasket failures are among the most reported issues, and they often happen before the bike has even cleared 5,000 miles. The deeper you look into ownership reports, the worse it gets. Cylinder warping and camshaft bearing wear are also common, especially on bikes that are ridden frequently or pushed near the red line. It's one thing for a budget bike to cut corners on comfort or features. It's another thing entirely when it cuts corners on engine durability. Riders have documented catastrophic failures during the break-in period, with engines seizing or losing power entirely. And while Kawasaki has addressed some of these issues through limited service bulletins, many owners are left footing the bill when their bikes fall apart before even hitting 5 digits on the odometer. The gearbox is another area of concern. Multiple riders report grinding or missed shifts, especially in second and third gear. These problems point to premature wear in the shift forks and internal components. What begins as a minor annoyance can quickly evolve into a full transmission rebuild, something no beginner rider expects on a brand new machine. Factor in cam chain tensioner noise and oil leaks that show up early, and the Ninja 400 starts to feel less like a reliable starter bike and more like a mechanical landmine. In terms of hardware, the Ninja 400 weighs 372 pounds fully fueled. It features a 41mm telescopic front fork and a preload adjustable monoshock in the rear, both of which are soft and tuned for comfort rather than performance. That makes the bike approachable for newer riders but also results in a vague feel during spirited riding. Braking comes from a single 310mm disc up front, with the 2-piston caliper and a 220mm disc at the rear. Braking power is adequate for the bike's size, but many riders have upgraded pads or lines to improve initial bite. Despite these upgrades, no amount of suspension tuning or brake tweaking can fix the core issue. This bike simply was not built to last. With a starting price of $5,719, the Ninja 400 appears to be a solid deal. It looks sharp, sounds fun, and comes from a respected Japanese manufacturer. But when the repair bills start stacking up, or worse, when the entire engine gives out, owners are left wondering why they didn't spend a little more for something with real durability. You don't need to learn the hard way, and if you've made it to the end of this list, you just saved yourself thousands in regret. Subscribe for more unfiltered motorcycle truths, and tell us in the comments which bike burned you the most, or which one surprised you by lasting longer than anyone expected. We'll see you down there. Stay safe and ride smarter.